Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this thought leadership presentation of our esteemed professor, Dr. Dhiman, our beloved professor, Dr. Dhiman. We have these sessions every last Thursday of the month from 4 to 5 Pacific time. And so, of course, you're invited to attend all of them or the ones that you decide to select. Today, as I mentioned earlier, we have someone very special. Dr. Satinder Dhiman serves as Associate Dean, Chair, and Director of the MBA and the MOL programs, as well as a Professor of Management at Woodbury University School of Business. He holds a PhD in Social Sciences from Tilburg University in the Netherlands, and another doctorate in Organizational Leadership from Pepperdine University. Dhiman has also completed advanced executive leadership programs at Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton. Author, co-author, editor, co-editor, translator of more than 40 books. His most recent books include The Bhagavad Gita in Leadership by Palgrave, published by Palgrave, Holistic Leadership, also published by Palgrave, and Gandhian Leadership, also a production. He is the editor-in-chief of 7 major reference works, including the Palgrave Handbook of Servant Leadership, just came out this year, the Springer Handbook of Global Leadership and Followership also came out this year, the Routledge Companion to Leadership and Change, also a process of this year, a product of this year, the Palgrave Handbook of Workplace Wellbeing, 2021, and the Routledge Companion to Mindfulness at Work. Recipient of several national and international professional honors, Professor Dhiman is also the winner of Steve Allen Excellence in Education Award and the prestigious ACBSP International Teacher of the Year Award. Dr. Dhiman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much for professors wish that their introductions will get better from semester to semester. It's always a pleasure to see wonderful people here. I have some of, I can see the names from distant past, and that makes me, very old, despite my youthful appearance, and some from the current stream of our wonderful students. I regard myself as one of those people who gets a greater wage than the work they put in. So I have been very, there is a book called Series of Unfortunate Events. My life has been a series of fortunate events. So, and one of the fortunate events was that I came to this country, and then I stumbled upon Woodbury University. So I feel I'm blessed. I know there are more talented people out there, but that I was given the opportunity to serve at this institution, I regard it as my honor, privilege, and a distinct sort of joy for me. The topic today, let me share the screen, if I may, is this. It's very important. I generally avoid the word happiness because happiness could be used in a lighter way. For example, if you go to downtown and find parking, then you say, I was very happy to find the parking. That's not the happiness we are talking about. We are talking about something more deeper and profounder. So I prefer to use the word fulfillment instead of happiness. So how to live, lead a life which is a life which you can call fulfilling is the purpose of this course. My teacher in India, at whose feet I picked up the art of communication, they taught me start with the story, end with the story, and tell some stories in between. So I will try to follow their advice. It so happens that throughout the history, many people have taken a shot at this thing, what is happiness and the rest of it, from Aristotle to Freud. once a person went to Buddha, because he had heard that, he said life is suffering, and then he also had a solution to that enigma. And the thing was that he said, I'm a farmer and, I'm not happy. So make me happy. So Buddha said, please tell me a little bit more about yourself, because he was like a medical doctor, diagnosis he wanted to do of the situation. He said, for example, I'm a farmer, and sometime it rains and sometime it doesn't rain. So when it doesn't rain, I'm not very happy. I'm married, I have kids, mostly they behave, but sometimes they don't behave very well. So on and so forth. He started telling the whole laundry list of problems. Buddha said to him, he said, everybody has 85 problems. I don't know how he picked up the number 85. He said, every human being has 85 problems. You seem to have 86 problems. And he said, what is the 86th problem? He said, your 86th problem is you do not want to have problems. Life is full of challenges. There is no life which is free of problems. As long as we are alive, we are going to face those problems. So then he said, okay, I got the point, but you must have some recipe for me. He said, of course, I have recipe for you. He said, so how can I be happy forever and always? He said, very simple recipe I have. You have to find a person who is very happy, unconditionally, absolutely, perfectly happy. And then you have to borrow his shirt. And then when you wear that shirt, you will also be forever, always happy. So now this person goes on a hunt to find a person who is unconditionally happy so that he can borrow the shirt. Long story short, he meets many people, rich people, famous people, successful people. And initially they seem to be happy, but when he kind of asks them, a little bit more deeper questions, they also tell him that they also have problems and challenges. He was almost, close to giving up his search, that he found a person who claimed that he's very happy, unconditionally, forever, always happy, and no problems at all. He thought that he has found the font of happiness, and he said to him, can I borrow a shirt, from you? He said, I will love to give you a shirt, but unfortunately, I do not have a shirt. So the happy man, by the time, he goes to this person, he didn't feel like going back to Buddha because he got the message. Happiness. Everything else we do in life is in order to. We do it in order to do something else. We want health so that in order to, we can enjoy life. We want wealth in order to, so that we can have security. Fame, it feels good. Pleasure, of course, feels good. Success, same way. Greeks were the first people, although in the Western Hemisphere, I should preface my remarks, who systematically thought about happiness as something which is an end in itself. Plato called it ultimate good, meaning you can ask somebody, why do you want money? The person says, because it makes me happy. But you cannot ask the person why you want to be happy. That will be a silly question. So happiness is an end in itself. By the way, if you don't agree to anything, please raise your hand. That will be the next book. Aristotle, who was a student of Plato for almost 19 years, he sat in that first academy. Thanks to Plato, we have university system, which he founded, interestingly. Greeks are very interesting people, and they don't use the word, they don't have a word happiness. English language word has word happiness, and it has the hap word in it. Like it's like a hapstance, meaning a chance. That's not the happiness we are talking about, which is based on or depends upon a chance. So there are two words. One is makarios. Makarios is a blessed state, for lack of a better word, supreme blessed state. We will see what that is. Eudaimonia is more common. I mean, if you read some of the dialogues of Socrates, like Republic, Gorgias, and even earlier dialogues, shorter dialogues, we find that they talk about that. So the word eudaimonia etymologically means you, which means good. Daimon is something within you, like a spirit. Like Socrates always used to consult his daimon. I mean, when he went to was last trial, the daimon inside him told him. So inner spirit told him, it is good venture that you're going. So he did not withdraw from that. And lasting state is the last IA, the verb part of it, I would say in Greek. We already talked about that. These days, we will use the word happiness, flourishing, living well, life worth living. So what we are talking about today is how to live a life which is worth living. But before we get there, what has the modern science found? In 1999, I was at, I remember still at Woodbury, I received a little newsletter from Claremont in which they declared that a new psychology has been born, like positive psychology. 1999, Martin Seligman and Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, whom I had the privilege of meeting twice at Claremont, they got together over coffee and they said, psychology is too negative. NIH is proving those, sort of grants which are negative. Nobody wants to study happy people. We want to change it. Because, you go to NIH and say, I want to study happy people. I said, there's nothing to study, let them alone, leave them alone. You don't want to study them. But it changed after 1990. So Sonja was, she came from, I think she came from Russia. She did her PhD at Stanford, I guess. And then she was later on like a protege of Marty Seligman. This is what the science of since 1999, roughly 25 years of positive psychology has found, that there is a genetic set point of happiness. I mean, you want to be happy, 40% is not in your hand. You have to choose your parents. If you want to be happy, 40% is locked. It's called your genetic set point. Meaning, if you win a lotto, there is a professor at Harvard, Dan Gilbert, he will show 2 slides, 30 seconds. One, somebody win lotto, big smile, $40 million. Second, unfortunately, somebody met an accident, paralyzed on a wheelchair. And then he will ask his students, who will be happy 6 months after this or a year after this, a good thing or bad thing happened to them? Of course, student will say, well, somebody who won the lotto, he said, you do not know, research is against you. There is something called genetic set point. Whether you win a lotto or you meet some unfortunate event in your life, you will come back to your genetic set point of happiness. The psychology says this particular, that genetic set point you cannot change. But in my book, 7 Habits of Highly Fulfilled People, in my humble way, I challenge that premise, but that's a story for another day. 10% of your happiness depends upon life circumstances. What does that include? Your salary, where do you live, which school did you do your undergrad or grad or PhD, which kind of car you drive, etc., etc. Now, you will be surprised to know this is research, empirical research. This is not somebody giving opinion, walking through streets. So we put so much emphasis on how much money we make, where do we live. Research says that if you have all of that perfect, accounts for tiny 10% of your happiness. I'm not doing that. This is what the research Sonja is reporting in her book. Her latest book, The Myths of Happiness, also underscores the same idea. What are the intentional activities? What can you do? 50% of your happiness, combined genetic and life, depends upon that. Those activities researchers found out, for example, random acts of kindness, generosity, gratitude, you name it. They talk about keeping a gratitude journal, and so on and so forth. So this is the backdrop of our search today. Now, in that book, I am not going to go over it, but in that book, I challenge this premise of that genetic set point is set, cannot be moved. If you practice pure motivation in life, meaning you do activities not to get something in return, that's called pure motivation. Then there is a chance that you can move that genetic set point out of your way. If you have the gratitude attitude, in general, you are always in a state of blessedness. You always feel that life is treating you well, fairly, and you have that mindset of gratitude. Before going to bed, when you close your eyes, you recall few good things happened during the day. That attitude is something that can help the genetic set point out of your way, be out of your way. Generosity, people who have more, more will be asked from them. And if you generously share, somebody help you, you help somebody, and you, the beauty of generosity is that you do it in a way that the giver is humbled, not the person who is given is humbled. That is called regal generosity, which Buddha calls regal generosity. There's a stingy generosity. The shoes don't fit, you give it to Salvation Army. That's also generosity, but it's called stingy generosity. But then there's kingly generosity also, or kind of, your socks have holes, and then you say, now it's time to kind of give it to charity. By the way, I once, was traveling in Southwest, and the flight was delayed. Southwest is a very strange airline, and they said, very funny sometimes. Somebody came, and said, we are going to give you some. They wanted to entertain us. They were going to give some free gifts. Who has the worst picture on their driver license? We'll give them some goodies to them. And who has holes in their socks? And I know that I'm going to get that one. Because I do like ventilation. The gift of harmlessness. The other one is, if you develop that attitude that your footprint on the planet is minimum. You contribute more than you consume. If you have that mindset of non-violence, harmlessness, it is good all around, and you make it a point that I want to live, but I also want others to live also. The gift of selfless service, total acceptance, and the gift of mindfulness or the presence. So I'm not going to go into detail in these. These are self. Now, I'm working on some other book in which I'm trying to simplify all this thing. Happiness, fulfillment is a three-legged stool. It is an oversimplification, but as Einstein said, simplicity is the highest sophistication. You should make things simple, but not simpler. So this is simple, not simpler. The first leg of the stool is health. Anybody who doesn't believe in that, please raise your hand. We will be happy to debate on that point. Health is absolutely, and modern research shows that there are three other things to health. One, food. Let food be thy medicine, as they say. Second, exercise. And third, sleep. There's a lot of information these days that they talk about sleep. Although Buddhism talks about waking up, I think some writers are helping us to sleep more. But that's our choice. But health is important. The very first. Second thing which is important is meaningful work. This is where on the very first lecture, sometimes students will come to me, Professor, I feel like quitting my job. You must have heard that from some of your colleagues, when you have some serious talk. Now, then the next question is, how do I know that this work is right for me? I said, well, you should know that. You should feel it in your bones. One of the tests that I will give them is, let's say that money is off the table. Let's say that your expenses are taken care of. You don't have any financial worries. What is it that you would like to do for the rest of your life, even if you're not getting paid? I think if you think a little bit seriously about that question, you will be able to find everybody is unique. We don't realize, although the modern culture is bent on making everybody look like homogenized grade A milk cartons, we are unique. We just have to claim that. We have to find where nature has given us some gift. Some people just have to discover those gifts. And if you do that work, Martin Seligman in his book, Authentic Happiness, gives a promise. He said that when you are able to use your signature strengths to help other people, your work is good and your life is meaningful. So all we have to do is search our heart. We don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to go to any shrink. Why would you go there? Because you want to expand your awareness, not shrink it. So you search your heart and ask yourself, what is that activity which makes me blossom? which gives me that blessed feeling that they were talking about. Now, third thing is very rare. I wanted to not write it here and maybe ask the audience, what do you think third ingredient could be? I was with my tax lady 2 weeks ago. We were as a family doing the tax, and she made a comment. She said they are making a lot of money. Husband wife team. They have like 2,700 clients. They opened a new office next to it. I said, you guys are making a lot of progress. But she was regretful. She said, yes, we have all the money, we have all this property, but we don't have time. You see, our time is limited. We don't realize that, especially when we are young. Not only our time is limited, fixed, it is also decreasing day by day. Let's look at it another way. What if someone gives you $25,550? Think about it. And asks you, this is the only money you are going to get it for all your life. You are not going to get even a single dollar more. That's it. What would you do with that? Would you invest it in something, or would you just put it in a bank? Or this is very small money. You will say, Professor, this is nothing. This is what they call in this country peanuts. Not even peanuts, right? But why did I pick up this number, 25,550? If you take 365, multiply it with 70, that's the age Bible puts it, 3 scores and 10, give and take few years here and there, 10 plus 10 minus. These are the number of dollars, days in our life. $1 for a day. When I came here, they said, another day, another dollar. I said, wow. So we have these, this is the capital we have got, days. 1/3 of this is gone while we were young, and some of it is gone while we were running in diapers and trying to figure out how to count 25,550. And 1/3 of it is gone in sleep. Very little, poquito, time is left to do something in life. Do you see how interesting thing is? I was attending some kind of a funeral, kind of event here many years ago. And the priest was very interesting. He said, our time is just the hyphen, the date of birth and the date of passing away. In between, there is a hyphen, the dash. How we dash our dash will tell whether we live a life which can be called fulfilled. Now, I have another way of looking at it. Any experience in life, this is how to live urgently, because life is kind of, time is limited. As Marcus Aurelius, one of my favorite authors, puts it, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Steve Jobs' video at Stanford, is also very meaningful. And he says that, look in the mirror and ask yourself, before you go for your day, what you're going to do. Would you do that if you have limited time to live 6 months, 1 year or something? If the answer is no, then you need to look at life and change things. So N is the total number of things you fill the blank. It could be total number of dinners. It could be total number of times you're going to meet with your parents or your loved ones, limited, or your colleague at work. N is that total number. Anytime you have a meeting with them is -1. Everything is N -1. So the morning walk I took this morning, it was a N -1. Whatever the total walks I will take, -1. If you live your life, when somebody comes to meet with me in my office, I tell the universe that this person is very important. I'm going to stop everything I'm doing. And for half an hour, I don't want the universe to disturb me, because it is N -1 meeting with my student, right? Sometimes we get so busy that we miss that part. So if we have this frame of mind, that these are the days, and out of those days, 1/3 is gone in sleep, 1/3 is gone in earlier part of my life, and I have very limited time left, then we become more urgent with our work and what we do. So the question is not to live, not just to live, but to live well, not just to be, but to be good. This is Aristotle's whole idea of being good. What's the goal? The goal is to live at our highest potential. Let's meet with the prophet of human potential, Abraham Maslow. He says that if you plan to be, he used to tell his students, he will put his hand on the shoulder and say, if you plan on being less than you are capable of, you will probably be unhappy all your life. Do not be. I remember Oliver Wendell Holmes. People generally these days we don't read those kind of things. He was one of the first, I think, Chief Justices of this country, Dr. Oliver Wendell Holmes. He says many people go to graves with their music. John, this is, I know you are a musician, with their music still unplayed in their heart. What a beautiful way of reminding us that you have some music in your heart. Don't go with it. Play it as when the sun is shining properly. Epictetus, another Stoic, comes to my mind. He says, why should I even care, to live a fulfilled life? He says the struggle is great and the divine is the task, but the price is great. What's the price? Kingdom. The word kingdom, Christian, later on, it has leanings, but the word kingdom meaning that you are in a way the king or queen of your own kingdom. That is what's going to be your own volition, your own intention. Living a purposeful, intentional life is going to be kingdom, and freedom and serenity and peace is going to be there. These are the things which people really aspire for in life. There is nothing higher than that. I read this long ago. I was a high school student. It has stuck in my mind. I thought it's a good thing I should share. Life, of course, is a gift of nature. Beautiful living is a gift of wisdom. Greeks talk about arete. Arete is the moral excellence. The arete of a horse is to run well. The arete of a human being is to use something that they are specialized, like their reasoning power. So for ancient Greeks, excellence was ultimately linked to fulfillment, meaning if somebody is doing less than excellent work than they are capable of, that's not a road to fulfillment. So you have to be, so they even defined happiness as the exercise of human powers along the lines of excellence. Exercise of human faculties along the line of excellence is the way to be happy, according to the Greek philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, be good, do good. Waste no time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. Now, you ask, what's the life worth living? It is a life devoted to true, good, and beautiful. Now, ask yourself, does your work involve what is true, what is good, and what is beautiful? Because now, it doesn't have to be artistic work. Any work that you do, if you put your heart. Carlos Castaneda, who studied anthropology at UCLA and was given a PhD, although he should have been given a PhD in theater art. He writes in his book, Journey to Ashland, he says, every path is just a path. But ask whether the path that you're following, does it have a heart? Does your path have a heart that you're following? If your path has a heart, then your life will have that, the true, the good, and the beautiful aspect to it. If you ask me, like, napkin on napkin, can you write, Professor, anything which you think that life has taught you? What is the upshoot, culmination, summation of all that you have heard, read, and looked at? I would say if a fulfilled life involves using your gifts for the good of others to lessen the suffering in the world. because there is suffering in the world. I mean, you just have to take a world tour to do, or even you don't have to. I mean, you just have to open your eyes and open. I mean, even here, you drive, you can see suffering. I mean, if your eyes and ears are open, metaphorically and literally, then suffering is there. So if we can use our gifts to lessen human suffering or suffering in general, and use them for the common good, then I think we are close to that. Now, Stoics, I love these people. I sometimes feel some kinship with these people, especially Marcus Aurelius, the only example in the history of humankind where Plato's goal of philosopher king / queen was realized. And the only exception that I know to Lord Acton's observation, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Marcus Aurelius is just about the only exception to that rule that I know. Among other Stoics, I love Epictetus and also Seneca, the younger to some extent. But here is what that part of philosophy. You see, we have gone through some challenging times in the past 2-3 years. In those adverse times, adversity that we faced through the pandemic and all, this is something that can help. They talk about dichotomy of control. Epictetus says, take a piece of paper, draw a line in the middle, on the left, right, things in my control. On the right, things out of my control. And focus on things which are in your control. You will be surprised to know it's very little that is in your control. And do not worry, meaning take the things which are not in your control. You know the serenity prayer? Give me the patience to bear what I cannot change. Give me the courage to change what I can change. Above all, give me the wisdom to know the difference between what I can change and what I cannot change. That's exactly what it is. View from the above. Stoic says something that we sometimes forget is that we think that our life is, my share of problems is bigger than everybody else. Nobody has suffered this much, and nobody has faced this much challenge that I have. Stoic says, take a view, like zoom out, and observe life from 10,000 feet. You will find your problems, which you feel they are so important today. A month later, you will see they will fade into oblivion. So similarly, when you take a view from the above, zoom out, it gives you a perspective. Then you say, okay, life is challenging, but I think that things can be worse. Memento mori. Memento mori. I think when Romans used to win any wars, when the celebration will happen, they will have some clowns behind them who will, in their ears, whisper the word memento mori, which means you are mortal, you are mortal, you are not going to be here forever, right? So that keeps them their victory. I love Leo Tolstoy's comment. He says, when you look at the real effects of victory, victory and defeat seem to be the same. They are not much different. Those sensitive souls will know that victory at what cost. So victory looks like a defeat. So memento mori. Amor fati. This word, I think Nietzsche used to use a lot. Let's see, how. I was struck by an incident I read a few years ago in a book by Jordan Peterson, Maps of Meaning, which is people, his other book became very popular, but that book, which he took 15 years to write, people generally not read. Dostoevsky was once captured by the Russian authorities back then, along with 7 or 6 other young people, on the kind of sort of charge of that the government, the establishment, or the powers to be thought that they are plotting against them. And luckily Dostoevsky was spared because another order came from the authorities saying that leave these people alone. But before that order came, there was a young man, 27-year-old, who was also a part of this, who were captured, and he had to go. So 10 minutes before this, when he is going to go and he's going to be put to death, he said to Dostoevsky, and Dostoevsky later writes it to his brother. This is what he wrote to his brother, Dostoevsky, that this is what that 27-year-old young man said when he was about to die. What if I did not have to die? I would turn every minute into an age. Nothing would be wasted. Every minute would be counted for. Historians and lovers of Dostoevsky literature agree that Dostoevsky did not waste the rest of his life. Urgency, my friends, urgency. Memento mori. Amor fati. Love your destiny. This is Nietzsche. My formula for greatness is in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different. You see, Stoics believe that who you are depended upon a nexus of causes which started a million years ago. You can't change that. There is some sacredness to who you are. You can't temper that. Nothing different, not forward, not backward, not in alternity. Now, not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. He says, don't just bear your destiny. What cannot be cured must be endured. Not that attitude, but you have to love your destiny, who you are. This is what Nietzsche says is the formula of my greatness. Marcus Aurelius, again, my favorite author, Stoic, he says, if you want tranquility, do less. Nothing more, nothing less. Because we are kind of under the impression that our life, there is something called fear of missing out. So we fill our day with to-do list. Sometime in the morning, when I remember, I make a list called not to-do list. These are the things I'm not going to do today. Not to-do list. I don't make to-do list. Please understand that. Socrates is going to be put to death. He will drink hemlock soon. And in the apology, about the last part of apology, he says to those people, to the jurors who are going to give their verdict, and also to all those people who have voted, there were 501 of those. He says, keep this one truth in mind. What's that truth? That a good person cannot be harmed. He used the word man because at that time we were not gender conscious, so please don't get upset with him. A good person cannot be harmed. Now you will wonder, what's this guy talking about? He is being harmed. He is going to die. A good person cannot be harmed, either in life or in death, and his affairs are not neglected by the gods. One of the charge was he doesn't believe in the city gods or state gods, and he is corrupting the minds of the youth. Look at what he's saying. He says, now why a good person cannot be harmed? The whole beauty of Greek philosophy, we share that with our students in our ethics class. The whole beauty is, why should I be good? The ring of Gyges, the guy, in Plato's Republic, there's a myth in Greek philosophy. This guy named Gyges was a shepherd. He was just, grazing his sheep. And then there was an earthquake. The earth opened and he goes in. And when he goes in, he finds a bronze horse, a very big bronze horse. There was a window. He opens the window. He puts his hand in it and he sees, if I feel there's like a ring, he brings the ring out. He goes out, the thing open, and then he goes out. And now he has a ring. And he discovered that if he will turn the ring, he will become invisible. That's Gyges' ring. And the Lord of Ring, that inspiration came from that particular myth. So he was talking to his friends, and then he turned the ring in a certain way, and he became invisible. And they said, talking, where did he go? Now, what this person does is that then he kind of does he plots against the king, he kills the king, marries the queen, etc., etc. Plato asks a question that if you find that ring where you become invisible, What will you do? So the beauty of Greek philosophy is that why should we be good? Normal question a young person will ask. Greek people will say, the reason you should be good is because you can be only happy in the long run if you are good, if you are morally virtuous. So the master stroke of Greek people was to marry this virtue with happiness. In a one master stroke, they were able to do that. That's why he says their affair is not neglected by the gods. So the question to be asked in one of the books, I asked this question: if you discover the ring of Gyges, what would you do? I mean, if I ask the question to myself, I will give it up. Like in that Lord of Rings, they were trying to find a way for that person to give up the ring. There are 4 approaches to life, friends, basically 4 approaches. I will be wrapping up in next 2 minutes. One is going from darkness to darkness. Some people born in unfortunate conditions, they keep on creating more unfortunate conditions for them by their behavior and habits. Life didn't deal with them properly. They are not dealing with life properly, even in this lifetime. They are running from, Buddha says, they are running from darkness to darkness. Second, light to darkness. There are some people who have everything. Nature has given him everything: wealth, power, generosity, wealth, power, and success. But they are not sharing their gifts. Buddha says they are running from light to darkness. Then there are people who are given nothing. Basically they have nothing. They struggled. They, with their hard work, got something, but they share. They help other people. Buddha says those people are running from darkness to light. And then there are few who life dealt them with goodness. They were born with all the gifts, and they kept on sharing their gifts. Buddha says those are people who are running from light to light. I will, as I promised, I will share with you a story at the end. Here is the end story. And the story is, there was a parrot, a pet parrot, and the person who had that, they used to talk in the morning and everybody was happy. After about 10 years, the parrot thought that this is too much. I need my freedom. Who doesn't want to be free, right? Everybody wants to be free. So he requested the man. He said, I have been with you for 10 years. Now you please, give my freedom back to me. Open the door of my cage and I need to fly in the open sky. He said, no, we are good here. I take care of you, etc. After some time, he brought up the same talking. Still, the owner didn't listen. Now he found a different strategy. The parrot found a different strategy. He said, what if I tell you 3 things? Those 3 things will make you the happiest person, the wealthiest person on the planet. First, he didn't believe it. Then he thought maybe the parrot has some mysterious knowledge. And who doesn't want to be the happiest and the free and the successful person in life, or at least in their mind? So he said, okay, we'll do this. Out of the 3, you tell me one thing first while you're in the cage. If I like it, I will open the cage, and then you fly and you sit on the tree, and then you tell me 2 other things. That's a deal. So tomorrow, they decided at that time in the morning, he said, we'll start tomorrow morning. So in the morning, the man went to the cage and said, okay, tell me that one thing. And if I like it, if I see that, that thing is very deep, profound, then I will let you go. And then you tell me 2 other things. He said, sure, that's the deal. So what's the first thing? The first thing the parrot told him is, do not ever regret in life. If you look at our life is basically consists of regrets from the past. I wish I had purchased that house 20 years ago. Now it will be $1 million or more, right? I wish I had invested in that money, or not invested in, certain kind of stocks that we can't talk too much about on this program. So this regret thing never leaves us. The man thought that this parrot is very wise. Oh my God, where did he get all these interesting ideas, knowledge? Probably he went to Woodbury University, and he said, okay, no problem. I'm going to open the door of your cage. You sit on that tree and you tell me 2 other things. So parrot was very happy. He flew to the nearby tree. And now the second thing parrot told him, the man, he said, Do not believe in anything which does not pass the test of common sense. Anything which is contrary to your reason, don't believe in it. And said, wow, that's profound. I mean, that's basically what Buddha said, you know. He said, wow. So what's the third thing? He said, before I tell you third thing, I'm going to tell you another thing, bonus. You know, since you have been very good to me, I will tell you third thing later, but here is something else. It's like a bonus thing. And that is, he said, you did not notice for 10 years, but my stomach was very big. You did not pay attention to it in the cage. He said, yeah, now you tell me, yeah, I think your stomach was abnormally big. He said, probably what you did not know is that in my stomach, there was a big diamond. If you had taken me to a pet specialist or a surgeon and had gotten some surgery done, you would have been very rich because that's a very precious. The man said, oh my God, you know, how silly I am. He said, okay, I understand. Now tell me the third thing. And the parrot said, I am not going to tell you the third thing because you already failed the test. Remember, I told you first thing, don't regret. You started doing this. And I told you, don't believe in anything which is contrary to your reason. Do you think that there can be a diamond in my stomach? That is silly. And you believed in that. So you failed the test. I am not going to tell you the third thing. Now, this is the traditional story. Now, I happen to be around. And, you know, I went to the parrot. I said, my friend, we have no conflict of interest. Will you tell me what that third thing is? He said, of course, as long as you give me credit. I said, I will quote you with your name in my next book. So the parrot told me, whispered to me that the third thing was, this is a profound Stoic wisdom. Although things can be better, but they can be whole lot worse. So with that story, I would like to make a finish and leave some time for questions and answers. Thanks for listening. May all living beings be happy. May all living beings be free. Questions and comments?
Are you aware of Dr. Dhiman, of a psychiatrist named Bandy Lee, Lee?
I have not read about his work.
It's a she. She's
an
Asian American, formerly with Yale, but she was put out of Yale because she wanted to, from a scientific point of view, put together a group of esteemed psychiatrists to judge not only personally the president's mental state, but also the philosophy that was being espoused and some people are grasping.
Wow.
And she believes, first of all, her Psychiatric Professional Association, the APA, banned her. So she was put out of the organization. And she's angry about that, it's clear. But her point is that she believes that we have reached a tipping point in society now where there's a kind of mental pandemic happening. So in light of everything that you just said, and you know, I agree wholeheartedly with everything you say. If you are someone who suffers, and let's say that she's right about that, if you have a society that's already reached the tipping point where it's ill, how can it use these tools? Because it doesn't even recognize its own illness.
You're right. You'll remember, John, our conversation regarding Krishnamurti, which I think you have met.
Yes.
So in one of his dialogues at Sa-En, I think in Switzerland, he says, there is no glory to adjusting to a profoundly sick society. I mean, that was back in 1950 or 6 or something, right? I think the needle, if it has moved in the wrong direction after that, even more so. You're very right. You're very right. You see, no matter which literature do you read, religious, spiritual, secular, psychological, sociological, anthropological, you name it. Nothing done at the macro level. And we have Dr. Schockman with us. I think he can correct me. He's a policy man, person. You know, his whole training is in policy, sort of domain. Nothing is going to change essentially until and unless, this is what Plato's whole thesis was, until and unless the person in the street changes, until and unless you and me and everybody else undertakes to say, I am going to bring about a deep psychological transformation in myself. Until that happens, we have seen communism, only 150 years failed, both in China and Russia. I mean, crumbled. So nothing from the system side, policy side is going to help if you and me, if our hearts are not honest, if you and me do not change, whether you are in America or you are in of course, the difference will be here you will be comfortably happy, over there you will be uncomfortably happy, but unhappy you will be. Why? Because at the base of it, the human nature. So until you and I undertake to effect our own psychological transformation, no tools. I mean, what I'm saying is common sense or common stuff. This is nothing to write home about. But the only way, and that's why I devoted all my life to this profession, because I see the glimmer of hope in the eyes of my students. I regard them as warriors. I tell them that you are going to fight a war, a peaceful war against mediocrity, against this, stuff that you were mentioning, against that stuff in the society. That's the only hope.
Yep. Thank you.
Eric, I see your hand, my friend.
I think I'm second. John, do you want to go first?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
John already asked.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
another John who has
No,
his
it's the other John.
Oh, another John. Oh my God.
We have two Johns. John number 2 over here. You can
Okay,
go ahead,
please.
by all
Okay,
means.
please.
Okay.
You're right.
Thank you. Let's not fight over who goes, right? So first, I apologize for being late, Satinder. I could listen to you for my entire life. I mean, the profundities that roll out of your mind to your words, to your actions are just, I don't have to pay you compliments because that's an insult, but I do have to pay tribute to what you bring to all our lives and to especially your students' lives. And I hear that resounding through the grapevine, people say, oh my God, I've touched someone who has touched me at the heart. And you bring that. So your little romp through Greek mythology and Roman mythology has just been superb. And I just have 2 points. One is Oliver Wendell Holmes served from 1902 to 1932. So he was a brilliant jurist and deserves the accolades you gave him. And your notion, I tuned in about the notion of a hyphen. And I just want to mention, I heard a story, maybe some of you have heard this many years ago about, I was at a funeral and the minister was, she said, I want to give you a test. And we're all looking at each other. She wants to give us a test at a funeral. I mean, pay respect to our suffering and our sadness. And she said, no, seriously, when you go to a graveyard, what is something on every tombstone around the world? I'll cut to the chase because you're all thinking right now what those items would be. And nobody got it. And she finally said, it's all about the dash. It's all about you came, you left, and in between is, and this is the point you were talking about, being a hyphen, is what you did with your life. So it's been done at sermons, and I just want to thank you for reminding all of us about the dash and the hyphen.
How you dash your dash. There was Eric, reminded you a story. There was a person whose name was Unbelievable. That's the name, you will not believe it, but that's his name, Unbelievable. And, he did not like it. His parents named him Unbelievable. And, he got married in due course of time. So he told his wife, he said, darling, when it's time for me to go on my tombstone, please don't write my name, Unbelievable. Say something nice, like some kind of quote or something. She said, so long story short, he became sick, he died. So his wife wrote on his tombstone, because he said, I don't want to take this name to the next life, Unbelievable. So his wife wrote, here lies a man who loved his wife dearly. So everybody who will pass by it, they will say, Unbelievable. So there you have it. Okay, John, another John we have, please,
But if I may, I'm going to stop the recording at this point for later, and then we can continue the conversation for maybe another 4 or 5 minutes, and then we will have to wrap it up.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.